Hi, I'm Michael. This is Lessons from the Screenplay. Pitching an original concept can be a daunting challenge. In the case of a new TV series, the show's creators must find an efficient way to communicate a compelling premise and cast of characters, as well as a story engine that will keep the narrative engaging episode after episode. But when screenwriter-director team Matt and Ross Duffer were pitching Stranger Things to network executives, their biggest hurdle was conveying the show's tone, a unique blend of supernatural horror and their favorite 80s adventure movies, which often featured kids as the protagonists. And even once the series was greenlit, the writers still had to communicate this tone to another audience. Curious viewers wondering exactly what kind of show this would be. So today, I want to dissect each scene of the pilot's prologue, to examine the inspiration and origin of these scenes, beginning with the series' pitch deck, and to ultimately discover how the Duffer Brothers clearly communicate tone through every step of their writing process. Let's take a look at Stranger Things. When pitching an original concept, one tool screenwriters and directors often use is a document known as a pitch deck or a series Bible. And with the pitch deck for Stranger Things, which was originally titled Montauk, the Duffer Brothers created a highly visual illustration of how they saw their new series. The creative formatting of the document helps communicate the show's tone, as it's designed to look like an old Stephen King paperback, even borrowing specific elements from the cover of Firestarter. The introduction also references several movies whose tone the show planned to emulate: E.T., Jaws, Poltergeist, and Stand By Me. And each section of the pitch deck is followed by a still frame from one of the 1980s films that inspired the creators. These films span two distinct genres: Alien-style sci-fi horror on one end of the spectrum, and Stand By Me-style coming-of-age stories on the other. So in the first episode of Stranger Things, the Duffers open the show on one end of this genre spectrum, with a sci-fi horror sequence in the Hawkins laboratory. The very first scene of Stranger Things needs to set up a classic, instantly recognizable monster movie tone. To accomplish this, the Duffer Brothers made sure their screenplay doesn't just describe what the audience sees, but also what we hear. So right from the first moments of the pilot, the script includes evocative sound cues. Interior Hawkins Lab's sub-level corridor. Fluorescent lights flicker, a siren warbles, and we continue to hear that low-end rumble. Boom! The door explodes open, the hinges shrieking. A scientist staggers out, terrified. But it's not just the intense, heightened sound design that places the audience in a horror mindset. Back in the Stranger Things pitch deck, the Duffer Brothers painted a clear picture of how they wanted to portray supernatural monsters in the show, writing, "Our supernatural entities will remain mostly obscured throughout, hidden in the shadows, tucked away just off-screen." And true to this vision, the monster is not revealed at all in this scene, but rather the implication and sound of the monster let our imaginations run wild. A strange rumbling noise, coming from above him. He looks up at the ceiling, his eyes grow wide and, watch through flickering lights as the scientist is sucked up toward the ceiling by something. These tried and true horror techniques are clearly communicated in both the pitch deck and the script, and they let the audience know they're in for a classic monster movie. But then, the next scene swings us toward the other end of the Stranger Things tone spectrum, as we meet our main characters playing Dungeons and Dragons. The next scene of the pilot emulates other movies referenced in the pitch deck, like E.T., The Goonies, and Stand By Me, establishing a kid adventure tone.
The Demogorgon! We're in deep shit!
By insisting on the realistic use of profanity, the Duffer Brothers made it clear right up front that despite featuring 4 young leads, Stranger Things is not a Disney-style kids show. Instead, Stranger Things harkens back to the classic coming-of-age films of the 1980s that the Duffer Brothers grew up with, which often focus on a group of tight-knit friends. In a section called The Kids, the show's pitch deck paints a distinct picture of each boy's personality, as well as the dynamics of their group. For example, Lucas Conley. His attitude will land his friends in danger more than once and put his friendship with Mike to the test. Dustin Henderson. He frequently bickers with Lucas. Their arguments are good-natured at first, but escalate as the stakes rise. These roles and dynamics are efficiently set up in the script during the boys' game of Dungeons & Dragons.
Will, your action! I don't know. Fireball him! They'd have to roll a 13 or higher.
Too risky. Cast a protection spell.
Don't be a pussy! Fireball him!
Cast protection.
Fireball! Oh, where'd it go? Where is it?
As Dungeon Master, Mike is established as the group's leader. Dustin's reaction to the Demogorgon reveals him to be more fearful and less confident than Lucas.
It was a 7? Did Mike see it? Then it doesn't count.
And Will demonstrates that he's the most gentle and honest of them all when he admits that he lost the dice roll.
It was a 7.
Huh?
The roll, it was a 7. The Demogorgon, it got me.
The pitch deck further lays out how the Duffer Brothers planned to capture a sense of 80s nostalgia. The show will feature many period details. Wood-paneled station wagons, analog technology, Empire Strikes Back in theaters, Blondie on the radio, etc. 1980s period details are on full display in this scene, from the costumes to the wood-paneled walls and patterned wallpaper to the old TV and retro headlights on the kids' bikes. And the scene also places another key element of tone front and center: music. Returning to the pitch deck, the soundtrack should similarly feel period but timeless. Most of the music will be original, which we imagine as a cinematic, eerie, modern synth sound. By making the unconventional choice of hiring modern electronic musicians to score Stranger Things, the Duffer Brothers nailed an essential element of the show's unique tone: original music that feels both modern and retro, creepy and nostalgic, all at the same time. But just as we've gotten comfortable in 80s coming-of-age nostalgia, both ends of the tone spectrum literally collide in the final scene of the show's opening. With a supernatural encounter. The final part of the prologue follows one member of the group of friends, Will Byers, as he's pursued by the monster from the laboratory. The scene continues to include nostalgic retro details while bringing back the sci-fi horror tone-setting techniques from the opening scene.
Hello? Hello?
He hears something on the other line, but not a voice. It is that guttural sound he heard in the woods. The pitch rises and falls, making a series of strange sounds. And just as in the first scene, the writers make sure to shroud the monster in mystery. We can't make out any features, but its proportions seem off. This scene also includes a visual homage to E.T., taking an image that was featured in the original pitch deck and recreating it for the climax of the scene. And the scene ends with a piece of writing that indicates sound design, visual cues, and camera movement all at once. We don't see what happens to Will. We just watch that naked dangling light bulb. We think the glass of the bulb is going to shatter, but then the terrible shrieking sound abruptly stops. We pull away from the light. The shed is empty. Will has vanished. By examining the pitch deck of Stranger Things, we see how the tone of a series can be conveyed early in the development process. And by analyzing the show's opening, we understand how the show's creators efficiently communicate this tone to the audience. The first scene of the pilot is pure horror. The second is pure coming-of-age 80s nostalgia. And the third is pure Stranger Things. Hey guys, Michael here. I want to quickly tell you about a project I'm involved with called Nebula. Nebula is a subscription streaming platform developed by and featuring creators like myself. It's a place where you can watch all of our videos ad-free and where we can experiment and create exclusive content, which we call Nebula Originals. Our Nebula Original series is called Story Mode. In each video, we take the story analysis of lessons from the screenplay and apply it to video games. You can watch all the episodes as well as original content from a ton of great creators today on Nebula. But it gets even better. CuriosityStream, the streaming service home to thousands of top-quality non-fiction shows and documentaries, has partnered with Nebula. So if you sign up for CuriosityStream using the link in the description, you get Nebula for free. With this bundle, you're supporting independent creators like myself and getting CuriosityStream and its thousands of great documentaries. So head to the link in the description to sign up today. Thanks to CuriosityStream for sponsoring this video. Thank you as always to the patrons on Patreon for making this channel possible, and thanks for watching.